Okay, so this is Games Now Online Jam 3 kickoff show, and I'm Ville Kankainen, your host, and here's Soli Park, my co-host. Soli, did you have something to say before we introduce our guests?
Well, we'll quickly give an overview of what this event is about. So, as you guys noticed, this is Games Now, and around the time in this difficult times of COVID-19, we've been organizing online jam under the roof of Games Now, and this is the third Games Now online jam. And this time we're going to talk about board game ecologies. And this is quite huge because Ville is also highly interested in board games. He's researching about board games.
I probably should stick into these analog technologies if you have noticed already. But anyways, okay.
Yep.
I'm ready here, and our guests are Annika and Kai Saarto from Todellisuuspako blog and podcast, and they have been presenting lots of interesting board games in their blog, and they have interesting show in podcast, and they are also visitors in other podcasts, but maybe we let them themselves tell a little bit. So, welcome to the online games jam, Kai and Annika. Could you introduce yourselves and who are you?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we are Kai and Annika Saarto from Turku in southwestern Finland. And yes, I've been enthusiastic about board games for about 5 years now. Before that, I was a very casual board gamer. And Kai, so you had more solid.
I've been playing since I was 15 or something. I started with role-playing games and computer games, but really I've been in board games just as long, basically as Annika. So 5 years or so, we have been really hardcore board gamers.
Yeah. And how often do you play board games?
It depends. Sometimes we play daily, but usually at least 2 or 3 times a week. And we have our own board game club that comes together every Tuesday.
Yeah.
So, of course, COVID has given us some challenges with that, but so far we are still going strong.
Yeah. So, how did you get interested to put up this podcast? And
well, yeah. Do you have an idea?
I think it's just a continuation. We first had a blog.
Yeah.
We still write a blog, and then we tried out some videos. It was maybe not our thing because it takes so much time to edit it. But then like podcasts are easier because you don't need to edit that much. It's only the sound and not like so. But Kaitsu is the one, the technical research. So maybe he can say something more about that. But I find the podcast concept very nice.
Yeah, it would be even easier if we had some sort of like a Twitch that goes like directly live, so we wouldn't have to worry about it. But I guess I don't know if we are like really, well, I'm not perfectionist by any means, but I want to have some kind of control usually before we publish anything. So editing part is a good way to get rid of all the mistakes we make.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, there is a comment in the chat that in Discord there should be this setup, like a setup that the microphone goes on only when you talk. So that I think your mic is on all the time.
It could be. We are not really keen on Discord. They're using Discord usually, but this works quite fine for now.
Yeah. Doesn't bother us.
Yeah, good. But I think we could go to the topic of the day and the theme, which is board game ecologies. And can you tell something about that? And
Okay, well, it's a very broad theme, and our philosophy now in this session is there's a diversity of board games. I think maybe people don't really realize how many board games there are, and just like in ecology, every there's a game diversity, and every game has kind of an ecological niche. They are designed for certain players, and they fulfill certain needs of that the players have. So there are different mechanics, different themes in games, and so that there is basically something for everyone. So that's kind of an ecological or ecosystem richness, and that's like the point of view that we are now talking about in this board game ecologies title.
Yeah, basically we've chosen games that we feel that are somehow unique or represent something that's going on the board game world right now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So maybe what would be the first game that you have?
Yeah, we would like to first talk about one of our favorite games, which is called Viticulture, and to be more precise, Essential Edition of it.
Okay.
Okay. Can you share our screen? Or
Let's just. So just start. I will share it in a couple of seconds. But why is viticulture interesting? Actually, I just mentioned to our audience that this time we don't have these broader themes per se, as we had in our previous online jams.
Yeah, okay. Viticulture is a so-called worker placement game.
Yeah.
Not sure if everyone in the audience knows it, but it's a really popular type of board game. It's been really popular since, I don't know, late 90s or so. And the basic idea on a worker placement game is that it's a mechanism that requires that players select one action using some sort of play marker. Usually they are those wooden little chaps called meeples. And they are basically workers, and you put those workers one by one, one at a time, and in turn order on a common game board. And on the board there are sort of an action slots that represent something on that game. Usually they produce something for the player, like wood or stone or something. Or then they can be used to make something out of those wood and stone, for example, like houses or something like that. And one of the interesting thing about worker placement games is a sort of an action blocking that occurs there. So as the game is structured in rounds and all actions there are a limited number of actions you can take, so everyone can't do everything they want on their turn, and there's a competition for who gets to do what on what round, and it keeps the game interesting. And viticulture is one of it is actually the most most successful game, or most highly regarded. It's there's this site called Board Game Geek, which is like the mecca of all board game enthusiasts. It's a website that has knowledge of every board game ever made, actually. And there's this top list, and which are the best games. And Viticulture is actually number 21 now. So it's really high. There are tens of thousands of games there, so it's a really popular game. And,
I could add that, like, why I guess both of us, but maybe at least why I really like Viticulture is that it represents kind of a system where you can develop that system. You have, in the beginning, you have only few resources, but then you have to think how you plan your actions and in which order you do your actions, so that your system gradually grows, so that in the end, what you put, you have input, and then you have greater output than what you had in the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
And then it's also a very the winning condition is very like exciting, because it ends immediately, actually during that round when one of the players reaches a certain amount of points. So it's kind of a racing, which is always like super exciting, because you might have a player who seems to be doing not so well, but then suddenly he's been just like collecting those point cards or whatever, and then he makes a really fast leap in the end, and it really like triggers an exciting last moments.
Now we actually have a picture of your blog there, so you have something.
On the lower side of the screen you can see the main board, which has all those yellow circles that are the places where you can put your workers and do stuff. And this is a really thematic game for a game of this type, and I like it for that. And when we the players have all inherited a small vineyard in Tuscany, and they have like few plots of land and a tiny wine cellar and only 3 workers. They can use those wooden workers you can see on the board.
Yeah.
And then they just all have their own little player boards, which are here. Hopefully you can see it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's your on the upper side you have your fields where you can put your wines, grow them, and then there are wine cellars and crush pads, and it's really thematic game. And then
if I add here like this, there are games which have very strong mechanics, and there are games that have really strong themes, but there are less games, in my opinion, that really like combine very well both the mechanics and the theme. And I see like Viticulture is an example of a game where the mechanics and the theme, they kind of have a very
tight connection.
They're put together very, very nicely.
Yeah. It shows here with this game has actually seasons. So on the spring, you can do only little things like buy some wines that you can put on the ground later in the year, and then you go in the summer and there you can actually work on the fields, and then there comes autumn and in the end the winter, where you usually sell your wine to your people that want to buy it, and there's a lot of happening there, and you have to micromanage everything your workers do, because you can only use one worker one time per year, and so you have to plan at your year like beforehand.
Yeah.
What will happen. And then the other players will also do that, and then it's actually a kind of a race who gets to do what they want, because other people will block your actions, and then you have to change your plans in the middle, and it makes the game really fun, because you just have to adjust.
Yeah.
And the game is best served with a glass of wine. That's how we usually play.
Yeah. So
Oh, that's really nice.
To have a more
context does matter. Yeah. Let's add Solip here as well on our.
My audio is on. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah,
but can't see me at the moment.
Yes, we will see you in a minute.
Yeah. The game looks quite interesting. Right.
Yeah, it takes around 1 hour or a little more to play, and
just about an hour or so. That's much shorter than I thought.
Yeah, it might look a bit complicated, but actually it's an easy game to teach because everything goes like you would expect it to happen. Even if I don't know anything about having a vineyard, but it just follows the logic. The logic is really good. So first you have to plant something, and then you can pick it up, and then you can make it wine, and then you can sell the wine. And it's anyone can almost understand it quite easily and be quite competitive from the beginning. So it's a good game.
So that is kind of like the whole ecology of the winemaking there. And And I think that is kind of also like, if you're thinking about the ecology stuff, that if you have like this real world ecology, then it's easy to understand in the game when it's like what you are going to do there. Of course, lots of games have these kind of systems, but
I think the ecology or the ecosystem is about like interdependencies, how something you do in one slot, it affects something that is going on in another corner of the board. So like you have to really keep an eye on what's happening at the upper level, so to understand those connections and to make a very good plan.
Yeah, okay. Do you have any questions about viticulture, or shall we move on?
Okay.
No questions coming up on the chat yet? I'm quite excited about this game. I can kind of totally see the educational value of this here.
Yeah, that one as well. What would be the next game that...
next game will be Quest for El Dorado.
Quest for El Dorado, okay. What is that game about?
Well, we pick it up because for several reasons.
Yeah. Can you show also that?
Yes. Yeah, we actually have it here.
Oh, you have the physical copy.
Yes.
Cool. So.
Yeah. So
maybe you can.
Maybe you can see it here. It's a really nice looking box. We will talk about the artist a bit later.
Wow.
Kaitsu's favorite board game artist.
Yeah, that's right. So this time as well, it shows a bit of the game board.
Yeah.
Okay.
What kind of game is it? What is it about?
It's about a race. Again, a race game, and we are all racing to find the mythic city or whatever it is of El Dorado in the jungle and find the treasure. But
do you have pictures in your?
Yeah. I will look.
Yeah. Sorry to.
Annika can continue a bit. Meanwhile.
Okay. Yeah, I was. We picked up this game because it for several reasons. For one, like it's Kaitsu already mentioned, it's illustrated by the Vincent Dutré, who is a very, we could say, famous in the board gaming genre for illustrating games. And then secondly, it's designed by Rainer Knizia, who is like probably the most prolific game designer in this industry. He's a German doctor in mathematics, and I guess how many games, guys, would you say he has designed? Like dozens, maybe hundreds.
Over 600 games.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, that is a lot, yeah.
Games, children's games, family games, maybe mostly family games, not that heavy games.
Yeah, but he is also quite revered among the hardcore gamers because he has made some really big games that have been important for the whole board gaming scene. As especially his auction games trilogy that combines of games called Modern Art, Medici, and Ra are really revered by the fans.
Yeah. Wow.
But it is a nice game. Do you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Can
that
you
is.
Scroll down a little bit?
Yeah.
Because we see the banner. It's occupying quite a lot of the space on the screen.
Okay.
If you scroll down a little bit.
No problem. I can fix things
there
here.
It is.
But
okay. So is it more like you build up the ground?
Yeah, you can
build up the board as you progress.
Through the jungle, and as you can hopefully see, there are different types of land there. There's a lot of green jungle, and then there are those yellow villages, and then there is rivers or lakes there as well. And
environments has the effect on taking certain moves. I would assume.
Yeah. So every player has, when they start, they have this tiny deck of cards. I think it's 8 cards, and some of them have Annika is showing them. Some of them have like green dudes that can help you go through the jungle. They are like scouts and adventurers who have machetes that they can cut through the jungle and help you move forward while you're trying to run to the race to the end. And then some cards have like paddles that help you go over the waters. And then there are yellow cards that help you go through villages. And this is an example of a quite popular game type, which is called deck builder. So you start with this kind of bad cards, so you can't move much with those cards, only like one step at a time on the map. But then you can use your cards also as money, and you can buy new cards, better cards. And then there are places on the map where you can go and get rid of those lousy cards, 1 or 2 or 3 at a time. And basically you can hone your deck so that it moves super fast in the end.
Yeah.
And it's all about the timing and at how long will you try to make your deck better, because you have to use those cards to actually buy the better cards, but you are not moving anywhere while you are playing those, buying those better cards. So you need to find the right balance, and then you, at the end, it's those last couple of tiles move. Players are like blazing through them, so it's really exciting at the end.
And one thing that adds to the variability and replayability of this game is that it has this modular board, meaning that you have these pieces which you then can combine in many different ways to create different paths through jungles and rivers and villages in the games. You can make easier races or more difficult races.
Yeah, that
also reminds me of. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, just continue.
Okay. I mean, this board, I personally really like this type of board, ground building up board games. I first remember when I first played I can't remember the name of it, but by end of the game you can see the entire scenery of the entire village that you collaboratively build together with your friends.
Oh yeah, that's.
And there were some of the board games like that, and I personally really enjoyed it.
Yeah. It's
the feeling of achievement.
Yes. That might be Carcassonne, which was one of those games that we started this hobby hobby with also where you are building that medieval French countryside. And all the roads and towns and it's a really, like you said, it's gives you this feeling of accomplishment at the end.
Yeah.
You have created something. This is more like
this moment of feeling sad for demolishing all that to clean up the boxes, and that was very exciting moment when I didn't know that type of board game existed until like few years ago. And when my friend first introduced me to this like building up games, I really liked the feeling of achievement there, just the visual achievement of that.
Yeah, for me it was exactly Carcassonne that took me to this hobby, because I had the same feeling. Wow, can board games be like this? You can really like build something. It's not just randomly throwing dice and then doing the action that the dice says you to do. It gave me a very different kind of satisfaction.
Yeah,
and I think Carcassonne is still very strong. It's mechanics-wise, it's called a tile laying game, and it's a pretty old game now because it's 20 years. Which in board gaming is it would be like a medieval game. But still very it's very elegant, and I personally I haven't found any good substitute for Carcassonne, even though I've been looking for new good tile laying games, but Carcassonne might still be the best.
But can you tell for our audience what is tile laying game as a type? People might, I don't know, do you usually know that term?
You the question as well. What is it?
Yeah. Well, tile laying games are basically what you hear here in the world. So you have there are some available tiles on the board for you to choose, and then you can put them somewhere. But it's usually limited where you can put it. So it's a bit like making a jigsaw puzzle, but the tiles can fit on multiple places. And you just have to think what would be the most useful place for me to put this right now, so I can mess up with other players or help my own goals.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was. I think when Carcassonne came, it was nowadays it goes to the same category with Finnish African Tähti or Monopoly and this kind of traditional board games. Although it is like a modern board game, but it's already so old. But it introduced whole new kind of mechanics, because lots of people, I think, thought that board games were just rolling dice and going around the Monopoly board or
that's
Pictionary and things like that.
Yeah, there are over 10 versions of Carcassonne currently.
Yeah.
And I think it's been all around the world. It's Amazonas, and there's one about Ark of the Covenant, and what else I can't even remember. The New World in Finding of America was Team of One, and there are loads and loads of Carcassonne games and Chilean add-ons for those games. Yeah, but did you talk about Vincent Dutrait already?
No, I
So I really like this artist who does this game. It's his name is Vincent Dutrait. He's a French illustrator who has been setting the bar for the whole industry during the last 5 years or so, and he has a really nice European comic book artist style on his art, and I really like it. And why I wanted to say about this is because if we go back 10 years, the games looked much worse than they look now. So there's been a really big leap in the last 10 years with the illustrations on the games. They are looking much better. It's like going from 16-bit to 32 bits graphics or something like that. So it's amazing. that games are looking really good now. It's nothing like what they used to be when I was like a teenager.
Yeah, and another thing.
Just a minute, my monitor is shutting down, so I need to grab my because
Oh God, no.
Remote,
okay.
so it doesn't. It's
so while doing so, ooh. There was a question on the chat about have you guys tried Dominion? And I guess I even heard about that game before.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you guys have already played it.
Yeah, we have, and we mentioned this quest for El Dorado uses the deck building technique, and Dominion is like the
granddaddy.
The ancestor of these mechanics. It was, I guess, the first game that was really that created this mechanism, and it's very popular. It's like been published in Finnish also, and it's got some 10 dozen expansions. So. It's a nice game.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah. But
just a random question that just popped up. And also because I think we have to move on to the next game soon enough.
Yeah.
But before we do so, I have a quick question. Where does Finns usually play board game at? Do they just go to someone else's house, friend's place, cafeteria, party room? Or?
Yeah, that is a good question.
Yeah, I think traditionally you go to a friend's house and play there. Board game clubs are doing quite well in Finland. I think at this point, Finnish Board Game Society has loads of clubs they run. And then there are also clubs run by, let's say, parish houses. And I think there are other types of clubs on workplaces also. So there are a lot of possibilities if you are in let's say a medium-sized town at least.
Yeah.
And board game cafes are really new thing in Finland. We have like 2 now, right? Yeah, one in Helsinki and one in Tampere.
The Helsinki one is called Board Game Cafe and the Tampere one is called Taverna.
Yeah, they've been around 2 4 years or something like that. And still hoping that Turku will get one soon. And probably...
Yeah, which is also quite interesting is that usually, I guess the most common way of people playing board game in Korea, my home country, is actually board game cafe. Because PC rooms are quite common. So people just consider, it's a game, but not on computer. So let's go to have a cafe there. So it's gradually kind of build it up in that way.
Yeah.
And this is kind of quite interesting how, environment you play game also is under the influence of the environment that you're living.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess in Finland, it's more like bars, and where you go, you can see pubs. You see there's a board game shelf, but it's not very impressive. Usually it's like those monopoly kind of games and some party games that are not that good. I always get a bit sad when I see those games in those places. But then again, in a bar or a pub, maybe there is so much noise and other things going on that you can't really you couldn't even concentrate on heavier games. But cafeterias would be like a more ideal place to play board games.
Yeah. And have you been actually playing online now that we are living in COVID times?
Annika has tried it.
I was anti-digital board games. Anti-digital board gamer, but now during the Corona times, I actually played 1 or 2 games, and I did like it. Yeah, but Kaitsu has done that.
Where?
Yeah, we are using Tabletop here, or what's the other one? Tabletop Simulator.
Yeah.
They are those that we've used, but there are also dedicated websites that you don't have to load any programs to play, that you just can play on the website and turn by turn, and you can play it over weeks or months even.
Yeah.
There are a lot of possibilities to play online, so it's not a problem. And of course, there are increasing amount of board game apps coming out. So there are loads of those, and almost all the big games that have been coming out in the last couple of years. Many of them are getting app versions as well, or you can find them on Steam or other online stores for computer games.
Yeah, some people want to try the new games first online before making the decision whether to buy a physical copy or not. So I guess people still want to have a physical copy if it's a very good game, because I guess that's why you are a board game. You want to have the physical sense of playing something and touching something.
Yeah, there has been at least the publishers have said that actually the digital versions actually increase the sale of physical copies as well. And there was this thing that when the publisher of the physical version was asking, like, is there something happening at certain times when they are suddenly selling more games? And it was at these times that they were also releasing the digital version or some add-on to the digital version. So people are definitely testing games online and then buying the physical ones.
Yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon that you want to have both versions.
Yeah.
And in general, during COVID times, like you heard that board games in general, they have sold much
Mm.
more than before Corona. So it's really one of those hobbies that you can have inside your house without like going outside.
Makes sense. Totally makes sense. Yeah, I mean, glad that the board game is getting more spotlighted, especially like people need some fun inside the house these days. So I think definitely matches up. But also, and also kind of opens up the discussion about the hybrid game, online, digital and analog game. And I think there could be more possibilities for that in the future.
Yeah.
But then let's kind of move on to our next game.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Is it?
Because I know that there's a lot of games that we want to discuss together.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So we have 8 games here, but we don't need to showcase them all if we have good discussion.
Yeah. Which is the Indonesia the next game or?
So it mentioned the hybrid games. Maybe we take the detective modern board.
Detective, yeah.
Detective, because it's a hybrid game.
Yeah. Hybrid games are something that I'm actually studying. Let me just.
Yeah, Ville is studying about hybrid game. He showed me some of his research articles and plans, and that looks so interesting to me as well. And so when you first told me about this detective game, I also found quite fascinating. So do tell me more about what is it about?
Yeah, Detective is a game from Poland. Poland is a quite large sport game country in Europe. They have a lot going on, and Detective is really cool game because it combines real-time internet use with a pretty classic board game mechanics.
Yeah, that is. I have also tried Detective, and
did you like it?
Yeah, I like it. It was very interesting, the mechanics, and but
yeah, it's a game that has like these 5 cases, which are loosely connected, and it's a sort of one of those old games that there are those books where many read choose your own adventure books that many of us read as a kid.
Yeah,
you can like read, if you do this and this, go to page 123 and read what happens next. So it uses the same idea, but it's using cards and computers to deliver the same thing. And it's a really fun game. It was, I think, 2018 when it came out. We were playing it like crazy. We got it for Christmas.
Yeah.
And between the Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, I think we played the whole thing, and we played like from morning to evening, and first thing when we wake up, Annika could say to me, "Hey, I figured this out. Let's do this and this because
let's go to the database and check some.
So you have to have a computer next to you when you play this game.
Yeah, computer or tablet or phone.
Mobile.
Yeah, phone is fine.
Mobile.
So we
have
check the
phone with
application
you.
actually. You have the application there too.
Yeah, I can actually show the screenshot there of it. You can see it.
Share it. Now there is a picture of the contents of the game, and there's lots of physical elements. But this I think it was very well done. This like hybrid element there that you have. It's like basic website, but like working with that website, it feels like you are the investigator or the detective who is going there. And
the basic game rule book just gives you first the really basics of what's happening, who you are, who are these agents, and then they'll give you this like little story that you can read aloud that tells you like your boss calls you in and explains you the situation that there's a crime has happened and you have to figure it out. And after that, you have this little board where you can just move your car around between certain places like police station and crime scene and places like that. And game is much just about using time right, because every move you make when you drive somewhere takes time, like an hour or half an hour, and you only have certain amount of hours to solve the crime. And then when you drive somewhere, it's like one of those choose your own adventure books. So you can games tells you to, okay, if you want to go there, pick up the card 15, and then you take card 15 from the box and you read it aloud, and it gives you more options what to do. And you have to take like ton of notes. We have like 2 boards full of notes when we were playing this game, and when we had like 30 posted papers all around the place, and it was like seen from some kind of a police TV series when we were trying to figure the thing out. And
those classical scenes where police always have this like a wall full of pictures and strings there and everything.
It really felt like you are doing detective work. And the nice thing is that there's this Antares database that you can log in. And it is like an actual, say, something like database where you can search things and you can try to make connections between suspects or evidence. And it's amazing.
And then there's a narrative element, like the cards are not just like, okay, you see this, go there or go here, decide. But it's like there is a description of the atmosphere at the police station, who is eating donuts, who is having coffee, and like it's really like tries to and succeeds to describe like the overall feelings and atmospheres inside the police station or wherever you are, and I like that.
It's interesting that these like digital components and analog components are dependent with each other. So you can't just enjoy the full experience without having both. Very hybrid. Yeah.
That was another game that came out from Poland at the same time actually, but a different publishing house. It was Crime. Okay.
Sorry.
So just by having the physical board game or just reading through this website digital part of the game. So if you do it separately, it just the piles of data or information.
It doesn't make any sense.
By combining it, it makes playable.
Yeah, and you can actually use Wikipedia or anything where you can look for information because it's based on real time or real world events in recent history. So you can go and read about something that happened in Poland in the 50s, or what the Nazis did in somewhere, and what art objects they stole from this place, and you can learn a lot about our own history by playing the game.
Or you need to Google a map of a certain city to see what would make sense.
Yeah.
There is a picture of the actual database. I just went there from the browser.
Okay. So Ville is sharing the image on the Twitch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, Kai and Annika may not able to see it.
Yeah, and I can actually. I don't have an account there, but I can.
Interesting.
There's like an 80s version of the game called LA Stories, and it like really speaks the technological situation, because it's got the same. It's also got a database, but it's in like DOS. DOS world, and it's like, wow, I'm diving back into 1980s, and it's like really, really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really like the part that's, how they frames out this hybritiveness throughout this game. So often, people think of it like, board game can be digital, or games can be on boards and analog. But combining those two, it will give way more complexity of how you design the game, and
now
the mechanics would also be.
Now we are even inside. I managed to log in there, so.
Okay, there it is.
There are more and more games that use.
The award-winning and hugely successful Detective: A Modern Crime board game has a successor.
Makes sense that you put something in the internet that you don't need to put that information in the box.
Yeah, and some games actually you can buy expansions online and just download it and just use the same components you had earlier. So it's an interesting thing that too.
There's also some questions on the chat.
Okay.
ZTAP78 asks, Chronicles of Crime might be one step more to the digital side of the thing. So Chronicle of Crime, if you play.
Yes.
One of the rare board games that utilize AR or VR even marginally well.
Yeah, Chronicles of Crime was just a game that I was trying to remember the name of. We played that too, and it's actually, you can use your smartphone to, like virtual reality, to look around the crime scene and look for clues. You just look through the phone and look around. And it's just the game that I was talking about, that you can actually download more content on your phone, and you can use all the components you come in the box can be reused in all of those new cases you can download.
Because the basic component is like the deck of character cards, and you can just have those same character cards can be used in any game. You can just, as Kaito said, download a new story which uses the same character deck, but they just have different names and so on.
Yeah.
It's ecologically a very sustainable game. You can use the same components.
Yeah, and you can do updates on your game, which is usually something you can't do on a board game.
Yeah, that is definitely one good element in hybrid games, that there is more possibilities to actually update the data. Although there is the issue of obsolescence, that is always the case.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I don't think that we have yet seen the best applications of this hybridity in the sense of like adding content to the games, because for some games you can do your own content, but I think there will come interesting games in the future.
Yeah,
interesting ways to utilize this thing. But at least because now at least publishers can do lots of content, but like tools for players to create more content There are in some games, but
yeah, that's not really common yet.
Yeah,
but maybe that's the future.
Yeah, I think something like that will be the future. Also,
there's also a few more comments coming from the chat. Actually, this is a comment about the game Detective saying that I like the fact that it doesn't require a specific app. I think it's related to what we were just discussing about because, another follow-up comment is that the biggest con of app requirements is that the apps might become deprecated, rendering the physical part unusable.
Yeah, just what I was saying about obsolescence, which is the same thing, and that is I think the biggest issue. But interesting, is there ways to go around of this problem somehow? But then again, something that I was thinking, nowadays when there are so many board games coming out every year, isn't the game getting old already in 5 years, which you can expect the application to work? And after that, not that many people will be playing the physical copy either. So
I think it might be just like that. There will be new games, and maybe the designers, publishers, they don't want to maintain the old or the old websites. They just decide to make whole new ones.
Yeah, they usually use third-party contractors to do the actual programming, and things may change, and the companies may dissolve during the year. So there's nobody who could actually even update the app after that.
Yeah, but I was thinking just like the actual physical game, the digital will definitely, there is the problem, but even physical board games, of course, you can play them after several years. Some games are classics that you do play, but there are lots of games coming up that might be quite big thing when they are first released, but after few years, not that many people are playing anymore. So the whole strategy of publishers is to push out so many games every year that maybe the physical kind of not getting obsolete, but still it might not be that big problem, but just my ideas.
And the board games are so large that you can't have hundreds and hundreds of them lying around just waiting for you to play. You have to get rid of them at some point, those old ones.
But this is interesting. But what would be our next game? I think we could move.
Maybe we'll talk about Indonesia next.
Which one?
Indonesia.
Yeah, the Indonesia.
This one.
It looks like an old box of chocolate.
Yeah.
Maybe you can show even some game elements from the box.
Yeah, I will do that.
I will get that.
What kind of game is that? How is ecology or ecosystem visible in Indonesia?
Yeah, well, I'd say this is a game of high interaction. If you talk about Euro games versus Ameritrash games, there are two main categories of games, and the Euro games are those that you make a lot of planning. Maybe you draft some cubes or workers, and it's very brain puzzle. And you don't interact that much with other players. Or if the interaction might be not that direct. But in Indonesia, you have a lot of interaction, and the game can take new turns in a very short time.
Yeah.
So you are in Indonesia, and the aim is to produce resources and then sell them using shipping companies. And in the end of the game, either you ship the goods or you produce them, or you do both. Usually you have to specialize in one of those, and in the end, who has the most money out of these actions is the winner.
Yeah, and the interaction is really high there because on every turn there's a possibility of a hostile takeover. So let's say there are two shipping companies let's say Annika has one and I have one. And then a third player can say when he starts his turn that there will be only one shipping company coming out of those companies of Annika and Kai. And then there will be this time where everyone is like auctioning how much they want to pay for those two companies, or ownership of those two companies that are now merging to be one. And it's really fun because you can just do it for like just to mess with other players. You might even want to have that company for yourself, but you can like start the merging process and then sit back and watch as the people are spending all their money while they are fighting for that company. And when someone has lost a lot of money for buying that, then they are vulnerable for some other attack that was the thing that you were actually aiming for. So it's really, really fun. There's it really has it. Every game creates its own like of ecosystem inside the game. So when you start, you might have an idea. I will be producing rice and oil this game, and that will be my goal in life. But a couple of turns later, you realize that you don't have either rice or oil anymore.
And you're the captain now.
You're a captain of a ship now, and you have just to make the best use of it.
Yeah, we've only played this game once, but it's just like so memorable session. It was like it was one of the hottest days last summer. It was maybe like 30 degrees, and we had all the fans like around us, and it was like we were sweating, and we were trying to get this game and understand the logics, and that I guess added to the experience. And I remember I was like doing quite well. I was producing maybe tobacco and some other things on the eastern side of the board. And then suddenly, maybe round 3 or something, someone bought everything I owned there, and then I had to buy that person's shipping companies, and suddenly I was like shipping all these materials, and like it was just crazy, but it was like in a nice way, very, very crazy. The board is like quite ugly, but somehow it has there's some charm to it because it's so ugly.
Yeah.
I don't know. The board doesn't need to always be beautiful. Sometimes it's just, I like this board.
It brings certain kind of aesthetic into the game. This board. I was actually, when I first saw the picture, I thought like, is it some kind of draft before I looked closer? But I think like it resembles like a map of some merchants might use or something, like you have this very crude map and everything. So I think that is also like a thing to think about when you are designing a board game, like because that can add so much to the atmosphere of the game, and the game can feel quite different just with the different visuals. And also somehow this just brought to my mind, like we were talking hybrid board game just a moment ago, and I don't know, do you know such what was the name of this? This was this pirate hybrid board game. It was
that was it uses phones as ships.
Yeah, that one. Which was the name with the game?
I can't remember either right now. But I know it. Yeah.
Yeah, but like the
Somebody
aesthetics
in the
thing.
Chat can help us.
Huh?
Maybe somebody in the chat can help us.
It's almost in my mind.
2 years ago. Yeah.
But what I was saying about the aesthetics in that game, because you used a mobile phone as the ship in that game, and you only have this. It was a very beautiful map that you have. The board is a huge map with a huge squares, phone size spaces for squares that you move. But the problem was that there wasn't that much of any elements that you could use in the game, like tokens or anything. So you kind of felt missing something. And when lots of the aesthetics and game mechanics was in the mobile application, it was like a waiting for your turn while your friend is on Facebook or something. Or it felt like that. So lots of interaction was missing.
Yeah, and if you get a message on your phone while you are playing, you have to pick it up and look it up. Then I remember where your ship was.
Yeah,
the name of the game, World of Yoho?
Yeah, World of Yoho, yeah.
Okay, that's the one. Yeah, somebody come up with the chat.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So our audiences know aware of it. But going back to to the game Indonesia, there was actually a very interesting short discussion with the audiences in the chat, discussing about like where's the time of history that this game is portraying. So when I first heard the name Indonesia of this board game and then heard that it's a Dutch company that published this game, and I was totally into this mind. I was like, oh, this is going to be probably about colonization.
Yeah.
Monopolying, extracting the resources of
one of the products that you are building is microwave meals. So
in our chat, some other audiences came up with the answer that, you can buy and sell microwave meals and such. So it's a modern time. But it was quite interesting when I first heard this title and then like some context behind it. I was totally thinking that, this is going to be Monopoly games about colonization. But because there are a lot of games that build in that type of story and history. And I think there's something wrong with the Twitch.
It looks like it could be from the 1700s or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm right. There are some like overused themes in board gaming, I guess, in any gaming industry, but colonization and medieval themes and all these, and I'm a bit tired of them.
And there are quite a lot of them, and it's also sometimes used as a cultural barrier for the games to be played and enjoyed with a lot of people sometimes. So it might be also, also sometimes considered as a design choices.
Yeah, but that has definitely been a problem with board games. This representational aspects in the games, so in the game topics, but also like designers and everything. But recently there have been more board games outside of like Europe or United States, the designers also. But then again, like most of the designers, way over 90% is male and probably white male and these kind of things. And always this Eurocentric perspective and stuff. But actually our next game will be interesting case. I guess if it's the wingspan.
We can.
That's a safe theme for a board game.
That is because the designer is a lady who became famous overnight when doing that game, and what I've heard, and that being a huge hit. But I think you can tell more about that.
Yeah. Wingspan has won like every major board game award in this year and last year when it came out. So it's been translated to many languages, also in Finnish, which is quite a rare thing for a game of this size.
Yeah, did it come quite recently, the Finnish version?
Yeah, it was this spring. It's been only out in Finnish for a short while, and it's really makes big splashes on board game scene, and then Elizabeth Hargrave, who is the designer, he really became an overnight hit with this game, and now she just came out with another big game which tells about butterflies, but this one is about birds, as the name Wingspan kind of hints.
Yeah. So could you tell a little bit about what the game is about, because the topic is not that common?
Yeah, if only I can look up.
Well, it's about birds. I guess you are bird enthusiasts or ornithologists, and you have your own like landscape, your own player board, where you, I guess thematically, you wait for different birds to arrive to the water shore or to the meadows or to the forest. There are these different ecosystems for the birds. And then what actually happens is you you get cards, you play them on your player board, and decide which action you take. You can either feed the birds, or you can make them lay eggs, or you can, I don't know what's thematically the third option when you draw cards. I guess you're just introducing, not introducing, but you are getting more cards into your hand, so that later you can introduce these birds to your player board. But then, like in technical terms, you're doing like engine building, which is, as we already said, it's like one of our favorite things. Like you, by putting these different bird cards on your player table, and then by activating this certain action, like for instance, if you want to make the birds lay eggs, so that's the middle row in your player board, and then if you have already put bird cards on that row, then you get to activate all these bird cards, and they have different actions. And there are about, I guess, at least 100 different cards in this game, and they are like unique cards. And so you can really build different combinations of cards that really like work well together. And then it's basically combining the effects of these cards in a way that you have as efficient and productive engine as possible.
Yeah.
And they are all referencing the actual bird, like the nature of the actual bird, or is it?
Well, I will show you some examples of the bird cards there, because they are really like informative, but not maybe in the sense that they would be like each bird species would do something very typical of it, because there are just so many.
There's penguins in there.
Not pink, because these are North American birds. They have done like an expansion for Europe. I think they are planning to have expansion for every continent. But I guess the penguin would be like they're not that many birds in the Antarctic.
Okay. Right. So I guess like Canadian geese.
Yeah, probably those are here. I have here like the Finnish version, but they're very informative. You have the name of the bird and the scientific name also, and then it shows in what kind of like ecotype it lives, how many, in what kind of a nest it like builds, and and then some like how long, what is the width of the wingspan, and so on.
So basically, if you play it like 50 times, you will learn something about birds. But if you play it 3 times a year, you are not much wiser.
Yeah. Now we got also picture of the card from.
Yeah. So each species needs a different kind of food, or a combination of different foods, and then if you spend those food tokens, then you can introduce the bird into your landscape. And then from that on, if you activate the row where this card is, then you can activate each bird card that is there.
And the interesting thing about this game is that it has a really niche theme. You wouldn't think that birds are something like sells like hotcakes, but actually people really love this game. So it's an interesting thing that it doesn't have to be Dungeons and Dragons or some European white dudes doing business in the medieval time. So it can have board games can have really different themes and still be like really awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Birds are awesome. Not as awesome as white person business. I don't know, but I can totally see like the educational value and also quite a like aesthetical value of this game already.
Yeah, it's published by Stonemaier Games, and it's an American publisher that really makes every game they fine-tune the components. And
like this leather, this player board looks like leather.
Oh.
I don't know if you can see it, but it's like very like high quality components each time this Stormire game releases.
Even the paper feels like nothing I've ever felt in my hand. It's amazing.
Okay, this is very interesting because in so-called European board games, which are these modern board games, the materiality is important aspect, like all the wooden blocks and everything, but they are like taking it to the next level even. That is something that's happened like, well, the last 10, 15 years when we've had more of these European, or not, maybe nowadays those are even hybrid, like kind of these American games which had lower quality and European style, but even higher quality.
Even we too, like we discuss a lot the components and the quality, so it's like something I don't know if it's a bit embarrassing to say that I like this needle to be like thicker or to be of wood instead of plastic, but I guess I feel it's very important. Maybe because board games are a physical thing, so it's like they add. If you have quality components, they really add to the pleasure you have when you play.
Yeah, definitely. That is something that have been also studied, that it is very important, and also it has came out in my studies as well. And that was actually the point that I was saying about the world of Yoho, is that like, although the idea initially when we heard the game with my colleague, and it seemed like a great idea to have your phone as the game piece there, but when you played it, it was just missing stuff, like even with the nice graphics and everything, or nice visuals, it was missing something. But like I think like in the detective game we discussed today, there the hybrid element, the digital element, actually brings some more social interaction there. It drives the social interaction, which I think is a very, very good way of using this digitality.
Yes, that's true. It's still really social gaming, even if you are on a computer, because you are telling everyone what you have found, and they are telling their opinions and what you should do next.
And like you said, that you writing physical notes as well, so it's kind of like doesn't take things away, and then even like bringing some elements from like a detective series and that kind of mix of the different medias, and very interesting.
And our audience just mentioned it also, that Wingspan just got released in digital form in Steam.
It is on Steam as well. I was actually checking that maybe I should get it from there, and that is also like something like in this kind of jam, like doing digital version of board game. Like we were talking about the platforms that you can play games, but those can also be used to make a game, like not the game logic. It's still just like a virtual game board kind of thing, but
and Kickstarter, which is like big thing nowadays for board games, and you can get money for your board game by putting it on Kickstarter, and get money from people who play beforehand for the game, and then those usually they make like this version for Tabletopia or Tabletop Simulator, where you can try out the game while the campaign is still going.
Is Kickstarter or crowdfunding still reliable or strong funding opportunities for board game developers these days?
It's really, really big. Annika is actually our expert on Kickstarter, and I think it's still really big. Maybe the biggest thing, even the really big publishers who would actually need the money to publish the games, they are using it because it has so much market value and advertising value.
That is also, to my knowledge, it is a huge thing for board gaming and board games in general.
Because I do remember it several years ago, like when they first started to do Kickstart crowdfunding the board game, is went incredibly successful. There were very good cases out there. I'm just wondering if it's still valid. And what do you guys think? Do you think it will continue to be a good funding source, as opportunity for indie board game developers?
Yeah, it's definitely an opportunity for anyone who has a good game idea to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, it's biggest Kickstarter projects to date have all been board games. I think at least the top 3 most money-making projects have all been board games. They have, I think, have they already been more than $10 million for project, but at least they're close to that.
Yeah.
So the 5 million limit is.
Yeah.
Was the Frosthaven the newest top? There was a campaign for Frosthaven, which is like a new version, I guess, of the Board Game Geek #1 game, Gloomhaven. And this Frosthaven was on Kickstarter. I think it was in the spring this year.
Yeah.
And it might have become the biggest ever campaign as to the money it like collected.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not. Yeah, I think it might be, at least. Yeah, Gloomhaven has been big, and all these games that have lots of miniatures, like miniatures have been big thing.
That's the side effect of a Kickstarter campaigns.
Yeah, but it's kind of interesting how this digital platform brings in more of the materiality for the games. It becomes even more important when you can see it, you can share it, and so on.
Yeah, I just checked. This Frosthaven collected like $13 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and board games are selling much more than digital games in crowdfunding platforms currently, and have been in several years, I think, already.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think it would be interesting to know why is it so different from digital games, but someone should.
But I guess also the price for digital games is usually lower than board games.
Yeah.
Well, development costs more, but you get much less for every game sold.
Yeah, but I think it can be. It's kind of simple to put add-ons for board games and then do them if you have time. And I don't know.
Yeah, so
really.
you don't have to program. You can just, if you have a good idea, you can come up with a board game idea at least, and you just need help for printing and getting components, but it's much easier.
3D printing.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like the expenses, if you have a very popular base game and then you make an expansion for it, you only need to put like maybe 5 additional cards, and it can still cost almost the same as the base game, which is a bit crazy, but I don't know. That's the way it goes. Easy money for the publishers, maybe.
Yeah. But we are running out of time, but maybe.
Yeah, I was trying to mention that. So we have roughly 3 minutes left for our original scheduled time. How long do we have here, Ville?
We can. Well, I don't mind if you have time. We can make it a little bit over.
Yeah,
we also have to announce our further rules for our jam, and there's also brainstorming sessions scheduled on our Discord voice chat starting from 7:15.
Yeah.
So might as well try to wrap up before then.
Yeah, or maybe that could be a little bit like a further as well. But we can try to wrap up quite soon anyway. So we don't have time to go through all games. But what would be something that you definitely would like to talk about still?
Well, we can list the 3 other games and just very shortly a couple of phrases. Or what do you think, Kaitsu?
I think that because the jam is starting, we could talk about the mind a little, because it's a really simple game and has few components. So it's an interesting game. I'll get a picture there if I can continue a bit about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's designed by Wolfgang Warsch, who was like nobody until during 1 year 1 or 2 years he published like 4 very very solid games, and now he's a big star. But that's a bit exceptional because like he hadn't published anything before The Mind and these other famous games. But The Mind is called like a non-game also, in a way that some people think it's not a game at all because there is no game in it. It's only like trying to guess what other people are like thinking of what card they have. But then there are some other people who really like rank this game very high.
Yeah. The components are, you have just a deck of cards that are numbered from 1 to 100, one of each. And the idea is that you have to put your cards without in any way telling what card you have in like ascending order from lowest to largest you have. And on the first turn, you all have just one card, and you look at it and what number you have. Let's say I have 13 and Annika's like 40. And then I'll just try to put my card down before she does. But we can't communicate. We have to like read each other's mind and guess what number she might have. So if Annika's like looking around the walls and looking like she has no hurry in the world.
Yawning.
Yawning or something. Then I can, probably she has a large number. Maybe I can put this down. And first rounds are usually easy, but imagine when you have 5 players each and there's like 4 players or 5 players on the table, then it's much harder. And then it's amazing when you play several rounds of the game and the group creates sort of its own unspoken language about how they figure this out, and you kind of learn this strange language, and you can actually pull out amazing things. That you can put 25 cards without saying anything or anything big. You don't make any. You can actually do anything that could be read as a telling what type of card you have. So it's also about how you like break the rules in a way, like yawning or something. Like it's not directly said that you can't yawn, of course.
But you mustn't count seconds. That's important.
Yeah. So you can break the game by just trying to count seconds in your head, and when it's your turn, put it down. So that can work, but it breaks the game and it's no fun. But it's a crazy game, and people either loved it or hated it when it came out. But it made really big splashes on the board game scene, and I think it was nominated for Spiel of Jahres award, which is a big German board game award, like the Oscars of the board game world.
Yeah, I think like it has a very good title. The title says it all. The Mind. It's a mind game.
Yeah.
I don't know the Google search visibility of this game. If you just type The Mind, I'm pretty sure a lot of results shows up that doesn't necessarily relate it to this game. But at least in the title, right, for the game itself, it says it all.
Yeah.
And kind of relates to Indonesia game as well. The title, I'm not quite sure if I like the title of this game. It doesn't give me much of a context. But then in the case of The Mind, it definitely gives me, this gotta be a mind game. And it does.
Yeah. It's a really simple idea, a really simple name, and really simple components, but it just comes together as a really interesting game as well. It's more like an exercise in group activities.
Ice breaking.
Yeah.
Ice breaking without talking.
Yeah, we had really good times when we played it on a big group, and it's been really fun. It's not something you want to play often or even own. You don't even need to own this game enough if someone you know has it and you can bring it out every now and then.
Yeah.
Maybe this type of ice-breaking type of game can also engage people online, maybe? Especially when the time of like this in COVID-19 where you cannot physically meet people, but you do want to ice break when you want to do something online.
I'm wondering how it would work online, because you have even less clues about what other people are thinking when you are playing like through the camera. And when you are in the same room, it's kind of easier to get the atmosphere. But if you are playing like with total strangers online and trying to guess what number they have, it might go south very fast.
But maybe if the purpose of the game is to be an icebreaker, I guess that would be at least a funny way to start collaborating to have this game and play it.
Quite fun, yeah, exciting.
Okay, do we have anything on chat?
Not actually, but there was a chat a while ago. Somebody was mentioning about the game Unlock. And it was way back when we were discussing about something else. But
maybe or something.
So that was something that I missed. But other than that, our audiences are quite excited and happy about this jam, I guess.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, these kind of simple games are very good for the jam games to create, that you can actually make a good game which is very simple. And this is something that when it's using cards, you can it's easy to upload the PDF and people can use all those things. It would be really nice to have like, if you could make a game that people can use 3D printer to actually print all the elements and stuff, but maybe they are not as popular yet. So
yeah, and there are a lot of these really small German-made card games that are relying on different colors or numbers, and they have simple gameplay. But you can actually, if you are designing a board game or card game, you can buy one of these and just make up your own rules for those components. So they are really easily to use, because numbers 1 to 100, I think there are several games that are using basically the same components. There's 6 Nimt, which is one of our little favorite card games. It's also has cards that are just numbered from 1 to 100 and little else information.
Cool. And I think we can slowly wrap up this show and start announcing the rules and upcoming schedules for this event.
Yeah, the upcoming schedule, yes. Let's see. Thank you for Annika and Kai for visiting us and participating. Very interesting to hear about these games, and I hope
and thank you so much for your patience with all these technical difficulties still, but we were able to overview some of the games that is highly exciting, and I'm pretty sure it's probably would have inspired many participants here.
Yeah, definitely lots of different kind of takes on the ecosystem topic.
Yep.
But now we can check on the schedule. So I will change.
Do you have the schedule image there?
Yeah, the schedule. What is happening next?
Okay.
So the brainstorming workshop, which will be happening next 19:15 on a Discord, but maybe a couple of minutes later, so there is a little bit of time for you to have a small break and
And this brainstorming workshop will be held in our Discord channel.
Yep.
So there is a link where you can join our Discord channel. Do sign up there first. And then next up is the submission deadline. So our submission deadline is on Sunday. So it's going to be finish time at 5 p.m. That's the submission date, and you can submit your games on itch.io. And when you submit your game, we do recommend you to also have printable, if it's board game, if it's analog game, do have it as some sort of printable print-to-play format. So maybe PDF files where people can download and print the game. And if you can also possible, we highly recommend for you to have some sort of video, especially if it's a board game.
Yeah,
and also for digital game, if there's no video and if the game doesn't run, that will be very sad. So video is very highly recommending.
Yeah, it is. Well, it is actually mandatory to have some kind of video there. It can be very simple. Just use your mobile phone to capture something, but that is very important. Also, for when people are looking at your games, they typically, if there is a video, they can check the video and they get a good picture of the game. So those games are much more visible on the site as well. And especially on shows like this, the videos are good, which we unfortunately didn't have today, but it would be great to show some videos. I think we will see if there's possibility to play actually some games. Let's see, are they all physical ones that we need to print out?
And as always, we mentioned in games, in jams, every jams, please do prepare submitting your game several hours, at least 2 hours before the submission. You need time to submit the game.
Yep.
And especially if you have videos, start doing that.
Yep.
So be manageable in your time to plan up ahead and do not rush yourself in the very last minute.
Yeah. And like mentioned, we will have this swag that we will be raffling in the next review session. The stickers and those caps. So there will be a form for participating in the raffle, and also after you are that is a separate form. But what I was about to say about the submission deadline, this is not like directly or exactly a week. It's on Sunday because we have our review talk show on next Monday at the same time as today. And we need some time to actually review the games before the talk show. So that is why we have deadline on Sunday. And
so be mindful about these schedules. And if we're good to go, we can talk to you guys again on next Monday then, which is also going to be here in Twitch.
Yeah.
And hoping that our streaming will go nicely and on time next time.
Yeah. I'm sure we're getting there. And do go to the itch.io, our itch.io page. The page will be updated, all the rules and everything will be updated there soon. There is the timetable, and you can find the link to the Discord as well and join the Discord community, because like all the jams, the community is very important, and definitely you can get new ideas there on the ideating workshop, which should be starting in couple of minutes. Okay, I think it's time to
Discord. We will start the brainstorming workshop at 7:20ish, so roughly 10 minutes left. To go to Discord, and Christina will welcome you there.
Yep. But it's time for us to say goodbye and have a good jamming and
thank you very much for Annika and Kai for introducing us awesome games. Big applause.
Yes, let's give them applause. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, everyone, and have great jamming.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.